We ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, I'm starting everything.
All right, here we go.
Like this far away or so. Boys.
It's happening.
So awkward.
7:48. 7:50. Start.
Woo! Let's go, boys.
Right in the mud. Get a little bit of slop. Yeah, I need it to flat with it.
Yes!
This is the beginning of a very long time of moving right now. I'm at home for the next 2 days.
Shit. Let's see the bandaged finger here. Holding your beer, that's good.
That's the one.
Oh boy.
Hasn't
boys holding
hasn't
the
bled
beer.
through yet.
Already wounded.
Already wounded. Dealing with them, or I'll eat it at like 9 when it's quiet. They're pretty good eaters. The boys are pretty good eaters.
Yeah.
But Hibachi.
No, that's gonna be a great shot. Oh, there it is. There's the start.
That was my biggest fear that it wouldn't start. So we're driving here yesterday, and we were, I don't know, 10 minutes from meeting you guys. And early in the trip, I was like, oh, I have to get gas. We can't forget. At some point along the way, we stopped for lunch and to pee a couple times. Never got gas.
Exit. It's the last time we'll ever see this camp. This was the beginning of what would be the last day on this earth. Kind of wish I had packed my keys differently because I don't want to.
Should we just set up your video and I'll do and you can just steal a grab from the... Nick and I started planning this, I think 2 years ago, right before he had one of his big knee surgeries. We had it planned, we had a date, we were ready to go, and then he busted his knee and we couldn't make it anymore. So we kept it on the back burner, and then so this year was the year to do it. So I spoke to Tim, and I think Nick spoke to Greg, and within days of speaking to you guys about this, it was all systems go. I think Tim, we talked about it over the winter, last winter, and he said yes before I even finished. Logistics-wise, we had done a trip on the Southern Presidentials a few years back with a couple other buddies. We did an overnight backpacking trip, and so we had gone through the Southern Presidentials once before, so I knew the area a little bit, and actually where we came out down on the Webster Cliff Trail was where we ended that hike, so I sort of knew where we would pop out of the woods there. The beginning of the trail, the Howker Ridge, I had never been up in that area before, so that just took a couple Googles and figured out where the trailhead was. So in terms of the presidential traverse itself and which mountains we wanted to hit, I mean, it's a pretty straight shot. Once you're up there, you pretty much just follow the AT and make sure you hit all the peaks along the way. On the back end of it, you can stop at Pierce, I believe, is the last one that's sort of the typical traverse, and that's what technically counts. But I emailed all the guys and I said, do you want to do a couple more peaks while we're up there? And there was a unanimous yes. It's kind of fun to have an end goal and have a place that you're trying to reach, and it's sort of, we're going to start right now and we're not going to finish till we get to the car, because that's the only option. One way or another, we need to get to the car.
ran off trail. It's to the left. Very casual. Well performed. Good choices. Perfect timing, Josh. That's great. Oh, and you got him too. You got lots of peeing happening. Nick, dude, look at this trifecta of whizzes. You guys waited for perfect timing.
Who says we're whizzing? We've gone 2.1 miles.
Yep. And we're at an hour. 30-minute miles.
Bye. My main takeaways with the Traverse is that it was an incredible day, and I didn't really know what I was getting into when Nick invited me to do it. I didn't have a whole lot of prior hiking experience. In middle school, I think I had climbed Mount Monadnock with my family, which, you know, was a really awesome climb, but it was so long ago and it's not nearly as big as the peaks in the White Mountains. I think we also drove up to the top of Mount Washington in like a shuttle van or something like that, but I don't remember it much. And obviously that doesn't give you any sense of what hiking Mount Washington is like at all. It was really hard in terms of an all-day event where you're moving the whole time. You're never really pushing super hard, but just exercising for 12 hours is your legs definitely take a beating. And mentally moving over the rocks, that whole Traverse trip is 80%, 90% of the terrain is rocks. So you're kind of constantly checking each footfall and watching where you're landing, so you can never really just kind of shut your brain off and just kind of glide along, so for most of it you have to pay close attention. The thing that's kind of most memorable to me when I think about the Traverse is a section that you'll see later on in the video, but between Eisenhower and Monroe there's this really kind of runnable section that was almost kind of flat, or just kind of a curved top to some of these peaks where you're still in the ridge line and you can just see for an amazing amount of miles, and there was this beautiful cloud cover and just there's these like almost mountain flowers and cool patterns on the rocks. That was just a section that I remember really like feeling just like so happy to be out there in the mountains.
First one.
Howker!
This Howker? Look how far you can see today. Woo. Let's duck into the woods. I like these like little sections. It's clear. Now get back into that deep tunnel. When you do a big mountain run, kind of the reward at the end of it, there's no big ceremony, there's no medals or everything. You get to go back to camp and like sit down and have sore legs and warm feet with a fire and eat as much food as you want and drink some beers and fall asleep at 8 o'clock at night and feel awesome. Wow, nice little cliff.
The whole planning of a run like the Presidential Traverse is what I love the best about it. That it's not just let's go out and have a run and like I don't need to hydrate, I don't need to worry, I can just throw my shoes and my shorts on and go out, and you can't do that for a day like this. You got to think about, where am I going to get water? Like what time do we need to be at places, and if someone gets hurt, what is your bailout plan? And I love all of the whole planning of the day, and makes it so much more fun. I was very aware of what the physical toll on my legs would be for an event like this, which is why a lot of my training focused a little bit more on strength as opposed to endurance on your legs, because I've been running marathons in distance for 10 years now. Actually, 2017 was my 10 years, and I had an original goal of 10 marathons in 10 years, and this 50 miler that I'm doing in a couple of months is going to be my 13th one in 10 years. So I feel like I had the miles, I just needed to make sure that my legs were still strong enough to keep holding me up. You do these big endurance events so that you're you're testing whether you know that you have it or not, your ability to do it. And that's the whole fun part. And you're looking for the ability to be challenged with something and continue moving on. You suffer to get to these places, and that's what makes those places so special, is that you've got to work hard to get there.
The ones that we don't know, we don't count that.
What percentage are U.S. made?
Not a big percentage.
Oh, but
It used to be 1 in 4,
it was, yeah, wow.
but it's not that we make less. It's that we as a brand are way bigger. Expanding in the U.S. is difficult, so the percentage decrease while the shares remain the same.
Cashews?
Yeah.
Felt nice having snow on the shoes though, huh?
Yeah.
Compared to rock.
That's fucking awesome, man. Look at how dangerous this looks like from up here.
Nice. How much easier is it getting down Washington than going up it, huh?
Cashews?
Oh yeah,
Good carbos.
What does this do? Nothing.
So yeah, you're filming.
All right. I'm gonna. Is it rolling?
It's rolling.
All right. Log in. Hold this. All right.
Tuckermans.
What are we at, Monroe?
Right? And that Tuckerman's right under us?
Yeah, exactly.
That's Tuckerman? I thought Tuckerman's was...
There's a hut.
Is it on the other side of that?
Uh,
So. Oh yeah, you might be
Are
right.
you sure?
actually.
Because it is in.
No, because when you come up Tuckerman's,
Yeah,
you
you're
don't
right.
go past Lake of the
Yeah.
Clouds.
You're right, it is. It's odd.
Oh yeah. Look at that slide. Look at all those trees.
This is kind of cool. We're getting back into small shrubs.
Yeah. Getting back down into the lower elevation. Watch out for these.
What are you doing? Praying?
Trying to see the movement on the clouds. I was like holding my hand steady.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I'm going that way.
You praying?
Yeah, I pray. Okay.
Seems like an odd time.
So I've spent a lot of time
hiking, mostly in the mountains, especially the Whites. I've done Washington probably once a year since I was in grade school. So I've been up in the Whites and the Presidentials quite a bit, but it was mostly probably before I was 15. And so like the magnitude and like how big they were, it was lost on me. That's what was really eye-opening, was those first 3 peaks, the Madison, Adams, Jefferson. Those were just like massive. The boulders were massive, like the peaks were massive. After that, it was kind of smooth sailing in terms of terrain, I thought. Surprisingly, the most difficult parts for me were when we would stop at huts and get water. Like for some reason, my body didn't like stopping. Like I felt queasy and woozy, and like being up at Washington for that half hour was like I was waiting to throw up the whole time. And then as soon as we like started moving again, it was like the first step. I got completely normal and fine. And I like the group aspect of it. It wasn't a race, but we were all trying to move pretty quick, but it was kind of basically a team event, if you will, or a team trip. We weren't going to leave anyone behind. So that was nice to kind of be that together and know that like whatever came up, like you'd figure it out. Things going wrong, like bad weather coming in. I thought someone was going to break a leg. I was like preparing for an exit strategy because it was so rocky and we're running. I think you're really vulnerable up there too. It's not like you're going to get down below tree line in 15 minutes. I just like being on the mountains. I don't know what it is. I'm not religious at all, but I call it my church. And I just like, I'm at peace. I'm super high energy, and the mountains let me be that, and just kind of no questions asked.
Your cards, I'm just taking them in.
Greg, how do I shut this thing off?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we just wanted to jump in one.
Why you gotta
Yeah, Greg.
I mean, we're not out of here, but.
Pretty awesome right here, huh? You know, life is very complicated in work, in life and everything, where the challenges that you're faced with can be complicated. But when you're out in the mountains and you're exercising and you're running, and especially when it's something like the Presidential Traverse, where it's not a formalized race, it's not complicated. It's whatever you want it to be that day. All right, ready? This story is more about the experience and less about the time and the analytics and the splits.
The Whites are just beautiful. I love being up there. I love being out in the open. It feels like you're on top of the world. I mean, especially up on top of Mount Washington, when there's nothing else up there. You can just look around and all you see is sky and mountains. And I think at one point along the hike, I forget what peak we were on. It was where that field of flowers were, but Tim stopped and he said, "Hey, listen, nothing." I was like, yes, that's why we're up here. You know, it's so quiet, it's so peaceful, you can see forever. And we got a beautiful day. You couldn't ask for a better day to be out there.
Not the place one of us gets hurt, right?
It's a great run, and we made it to the end, and there was no option that we weren't gonna finish. Ow! And finish together, regardless of how fast or slow it went. It was a matter of starting and finishing at that car. So it was a good group and a good day. Do it again.
Yeah, the Traverse taught me that it's possible to come back to rebound. I was in a pretty bad place at the top of Washington and, afraid I was going to hold everybody back, but, credit to those guys for having such a great attitude and putting me in a much more positive frame of mind. And after fueling up a little bit and taking a deep breath and getting back out there, it's possible to keep moving.
Woo! Did it, man.
Nice. 2 years in the making.
That's good.
Greg.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah, man.
We fucking
Wow, I'm tired.
Now we gotta get back to
I know.
Alright. See you guys.
You're gonna run?
Shuttle stuff. I feel like I'm running on ants.
I just look at my steps. 67,000.